Hello students, how are you doing? I hope you are doing good. Okay, so today's topic is stoichiometry. It's a very important topic, and normally they ask 2 or 3 questions directly or indirectly from this chapter. So this chapter concept wise is very important. It's simple also if we try to follow certain procedures. So we'll begin by laws of chemical combination. We'll discuss 5 of them today, and let's begin. So the first law is law of conservation of mass. It's a very simple law. It says that total mass during a course of a chemical reaction remains conserved. It does not change. So if you are taking, say, 100 gram of reactant, after the end of reaction you will get 100 gram of product. So I have written that thing on the board. You can see that total mass of reactant will be equal to total mass of products if the reaction is complete. And in case if the reaction is incomplete, not all reactants have reacted. In that case, total mass of the reactants you have taken initially will be equal to total mass of products formed plus mass of unreacted reactants. Let's understand with an example. Say for example, we have hydrogen and chlorine reacting to give you HCl. So if I take 2 gram of hydrogen, 71 gram of chlorine, I'll get 73 gram of HCl. This is going to happen when entire reaction is complete. In that case, nothing will remain here. Entire mass will be formed in the form of HCl. But suppose if I take 100 gram of H2 and Cl2 and I assuming that 30 gram reacts, so I'll get 30 gram of HCl and 70 gram of unreacted reactants will be still remaining. So 30 plus 70 unreacted will give me 100 grams. I have taken initially 100 grams of the reactants. So mass remains conserved. Now let's come to the second part, law of definite proportion. This law says that whenever 2 elements combine to give you a product or a molecule or a compound, they will always react in a fixed proportion, in a definite proportion. For example, there are n number of resources of water. I can take river water, rainwater, tap water, whichever is the source of water. Whenever I take 1 molecule of H2O, this H2 molecule is formed by 2 elements, hydrogen and oxygen. So whenever they will react in the weight ratio of 2:16, 2 from hydrogen, 16 the atomic weight of oxygen. So they will react in the ratio of 2:16. On simplifying that, you will get 1:8. Similarly, there are n number of ways of forming CO2. Whatever the way you take, one carbon will react with 2 atoms of oxygen in the ratio of 12, that is the atomic weight of carbon, and 32, the molecular weight of oxygen. The simple ratio will be 3:8. So what I am saying, law of definite proportion says that whenever 2 elements they react to form a single compound or a molecule, they will always react in a fixed proportion of their masses. Okay. Now let's come to the third law, and that is very simple. This law is law of multiple proportions. It's a simple law again. Law of multiple proportion. This law says that whenever 2 elements will react to form 2 or more than 2 compounds, in that case, if different weights of one element react with the fixed weight of the second element, these different weights of one element, they will bear a simple ratio. Now let's understand what I am saying. Say for example, nitrogen and oxygen, they react to form some compounds, like we can have N2O, we can have N2O2 for example, N2O3, N2O4, or you can say N2O5. So here I have taken fixed weight of nitrogen, that is basically 28. If I take 1 mole of each substance, this will be 28 gram of nitrogen in every molecule. Now the weight of oxygen which is going to react in this case will be 16 gram, this will be 32 gram, this will be 48 gram, this will be 64 gram, and that will be 80 gram. So if I take a ratio of oxygen weight of oxygen, in that case this will be simple ratio, 1:2:3:4:5. So what law of multiple proportion says? Law of multiple proportion says that if two elements react to form more than two compounds, the weight of the different weights of one element, in this case oxygen, will react with a fixed weight of one element, in this case nitrogen. The different weights of oxygen, they will bear a simple ratio. I hope that is clear. Okay. Then we have got fourth law, and this is law of gaseous volume. Now see, this is very simple and very important one. This law says that whenever the gases will be reacting, they will be reacting in the simple ratio of their volume, and if the products formed are also gases, in that case products will also be in the simple ratio of the volume. Say for example, hydrogen, which is a gas, will react with chlorine, which is also a gas, to give you HCl, which is a gas. In this case, one volume of hydrogen will react with one volume of chlorine to give you two volume of HCl. So you can see that simple ratio of their volume is 1:1:2. It's not like 1.3 or 3 point something. Simple ratio they are there. Let's take one more example. N2 plus 3H2 giving you twice NH3. Now these are all gases. So here you can see that one volume of nitrogen will react with 3 volume of hydrogen to give you 2 volume of ammonia. So simple ratio is 1:3:2. Here the reactants are bearing simple volume ratio, and products which are also gaseous, they are also bearing the simple volume ratio. Okay. Then the last one is Avogadro's law. Avogadro's law is simple, and it says that, what it says? Fifth one, Avogadro's law. It says that equal volume of gases at STP will contain equal number of particles or molecules of the gases. Or I can repeat it, or we can say it in other words, that equal volume of gases will contain equal moles of the gases as well. Say for example, if I take 22.4 liter of nitrogen, of oxygen, of ammonia, you can take anything, you can take HCl as well. They're all gases. So if I take equal volume, which happens to be 22.4 liter in this case, in that case, the number of moles of nitrogen, oxygen, ammonia, HCl will be same. In this case, there will be 1 mole each. 1 mole each. And 1 mole of each will contain equal number of particles also, which happens to be Avogadro's number. So that is our discussion of laws of chemical combination, and these are very simple. There is nothing in that as such. So let's move to the next topic now. Okay, now see friends, this is a very important topic, AMU. It is a very practical application when they give a certain kind of question, and let's understand that how you are going to use. They are not going to ask you what is the definition of AMU, but they can ask you how to use that. So 1 AMU is actually equal to weight of 1 proton, which is almost equal to weight of 1 neutron, and that is 1.6 10 to the power minus 24 grams. This is something which we have to learn. Now see, weight of atoms and molecules are measured in AMU. In the atomic world and the molecular world, the weights are measured in terms of AMU. Let's see that weight of one molecule of H2O will be 18 AMU. 2 from hydrogen, 16 from oxygen. 1 is the atomic weight of hydrogen, 16 is the atomic weight of oxygen. Similarly, weight of one atom of carbon is 12 AMU. Now what they ask is, they say find actual weight of water molecule. So when they say actual weight of water molecule, this phrase actually means weight, This means weight of one molecule of water in grams. Now you see that weight of one molecule of H2O is 18 AMU and 1 AMU is equal to 1.6 10 to the power of minus 24 grams. So I know that weight of one molecule of water, weight of one molecule of water is actually equal to 18 AMU. In terms of gram, it will be 18 into 1.6 10 to the power of minus 24 grams. So that will be equal to 2.88 into 10 to the power of minus 23 grams. Now lot many people find difficulty in calculating the weight of one molecule of water, and similarly you can calculate weight of one atom of carbon in grams. So in that case what you will do, you will place in place of AMU grams, 1.6 10 to the power of minus 24 grams, that will be 1.92 into 10 to the power of minus 23 grams. So if someone asks you what is the actual weight of carbon atom, actual weight of carbon atom means weight of carbon atom in grams. Actual weight of water molecule means weight of water molecule in grams. So you have to multiply this AMU by or replace AMU by 1.6 10 to the power minus 24 grams. Okay. Now let's come to one more important concept, that is expressed in terms of gram molecule, gram ion or gram atom. Now many people sometimes in hurry during the course of examination hall, they get confused and they get a wrong answer. Understand this thing very carefully and don't make it wrong again. See, 1 gram molecule means 1 mole molecule. 1 gram ion is equal to 1 mole ion, and 1 gram atom means 1 mole of atom. So whenever we get 1 gram molecule or say gram molecule, this is nothing but one way of saying mole of molecule. 1 gram ion means 1 mole of ion. 1 gram atom actually means 1 mole of atom. So whether you say 1 gram atom or 1 mole atom, one and same thing. So for example, if I say 10 gram molecule of oxygen, so it does not mean that I have got 10 gram of oxygen. It actually means I have got 10 mole of oxygen. So in terms of weight, if you will see, now 10 into 1 mole of O2, the weight of 1 mole of O2 will be 32 grams. So 10 gram molecule of O2 means 10 mole of O2. So the net weight will be 320 grams. Getting it not? It's not 10 grams, it's 10 gram molecule. So please learn to read this full phrase. Now secondly, if I give you a question which says that I have got 1 mole of H2SO4, 1 mole of H2SO4. Now you have to tell me how many gram atom of hydrogen I do have. So in 1 mole of H2SO4, I have got 2 mole of hydrogen atom. You can say 2 mole of hydrogen atom, or you can say simply 2 gram atom of hydrogen. 2 gram atom or 2 mole is one and the same thing. Similarly, if they ask you how many gram atoms of sulfur are there, so in 1 mole I can see I have got 1 mole of sulfur. That means I have got 1 mole of sulfur, which is equivalent to what? 1 gram atom. 1 gram atom of sulfur. Similarly, if they ask you in 1 mole of H2SO4, how many gram atoms of oxygen are there? In 1 mole I can see I have got 4 mole of oxygen atoms. I can say it will contain 4 mole of oxygen atom, which is equivalent to saying 4 gram atom of sulfur. So it's clear, I believe, that whenever you see gram molecule, gram ion, gram atom, they actually means mole. Okay? Okay students, now this is a very important conversion graph. We have got weight, number of molecules, volume of gas at STP, and we have to convert all these 3 entities into number of moles. Now why this is important? The reason is that all your chemical equations are written in terms of moles. But when you will go into the market, you will find that all these chemicals are available either in terms of their weight, if you're going to buy gases in terms of their volume, or you will get some particles of those. You have to convert them into number of moles. Now remember that weight as such is not that important entity in physical chemistry. In physical chemistry, number of mole is very important. So whenever we see weight, we need to convert that into number of moles to solve our chemical equations. Okay, so now see, whenever they give you weight, if you want number of moles, you have to divide by atomic weight or molecular weight. And if they give you number of moles, you want weight, you have to move opposite side. So when you will move opposite side, the opposite of division is multiplication. So while you are coming down inside number of moles, you have to divide. You can see all these things are being divided. Similarly, if they give you number of moles, to get number of molecules if given, you have to find out number of moles, divide by Avogadro's number. If the volume of gas in liter, remember it should be in liter, at STP is given, then you have to divide by 22.4 to get number of moles. This everyone knows right now. And also remember one important thing, that 1 mole in terms of weight is equal to molecular weight or atomic weight of the chemical entity. In terms of particles, it will be 1 mole will be equal to n number of particles. And in terms of volume, if you are talking about gases only, 1 mole is equal to 22.4 liter of gases. Okay. Now let's solve a question, and with the help of this graph, how we can solve that, let's see. So this question says we have got 11.2 liter of CO2 at STP. This STP is important here. You have to find out number of moles of CO2, weight of CO2. This hash actually means number of particles. Number of particles or number of molecules of CO2. This means number of proton. This means number of electrons. Okay. I just simplified that to make it look simple. Okay. So now let's see the first one. Number of moles of CO2. Now to find number of moles, they have given you volume of the gas. So they have put me here on the graph. So I have to move from here. If I want number of moles, I should divide the volume by 22.4 liter. So number of moles of CO2 will be volume of the gas given, that is volume in liter of the gas given upon 22.4. So that will be 11.2 upon 22.4. That will be 1 by 2. So number of moles of CO2 will be 1 by 2 or 0.5. Second, weight of CO2. Now see, weight of CO2, I have reached number of moles. From here I have to go to weight. So what I should do? I should multiply now. Coming down means division, going outside means multiplication. Coming inside means division, going outside will be opposite of division, that is multiplication. So to find weight, I have to multiply number of moles of CO2 by molecular weight of CO2. Okay, CO2 is a molecule. So number of moles are half. Molecular weight is 44 of CO2. This will be 22 grams. So in 11.2 liter CO2, I will have 22 gram of CO2. Third one, number of molecules of CO2. Since I have reached number of moles, see, once you reach number of moles, now it becomes very easy to traverse any road. So number of moles of CO2 will be N. I have to move outside, so I will multiply by Na, Avogadro's number. So that will be equal to N is half and this will be Na. So it will be Avogadro's number by 2. The next question is basically number of protons. Number of protons. Now let's see that how we can solve that. Okay, now see, I'll rub this. I hope this part is clear. So I know number of moles is half, right? So now let's see, to calculate this part, number of protons. So one molecule of CO2, CO2 will be COO. Now if I go with number of proton and number of electron in CO2 molecule, carbon contains 6 protons and 6 electrons. It's a neutral molecule. It contains 8, 8, 8 and 8. So total will be 22 protons and 22 electrons. So now I know that one molecule of CO2 contains 22 protons, which is also equal to 22 electrons. So I am having half mole. So half mole of CO2 will contain how much? Half mole into 22 protons, which will be equal to half mole into 22 electrons. Now 1 mole is equal to Avogadro's number. 1 mole is equal to Avogadro's number. Half mole will be Na by 2 into 22 protons, which will be equal to, again, this is the same, half into, Na by 2 into 22 electrons, which will be actually, both of them will be equal to 11 into Na entities. I hope this question is clear. Okay. Okay, students, now let's understand one very important question and how to use this graph. Sometimes people are not focusing on the question, so they get the answer of this question wrong. Now see, whenever you see water, I mean as such, now when they give 18 ml of water, this question says find the number of protons in 18 ml of water. So how to handle this 18 ml of water? Understand this thing very carefully, that 18 ml of water, it can be like 18 ml H2O liquid. They can also give you that this is 18 ml of H2O in vapors. People sometimes do not focus on this part and they get the wrong answer. Now see that when they give you liquid, this root is not available. People say, sir, they have given volume. So on this graph, you have taught that whenever the volume is given, we have to divide by 22.4 liter. But this is valid for gas, not for liquids. So whenever they give you liquid, they will also give you the density of the liquid. In the case of water, the density of water is 1 gram per ml. It is very well known. So they won't give you. So you have to infer from your common sense. So now see that the density of water is actually 1 gram per ml. They have given you 18 ml of water. So 1 ml will weigh 1 gram. So 18 ml will weigh 18 gram. So indirectly they have given you weight of water. So they have put you here. So to reach number of moles, you have to divide by molecular weight. So number of moles of water will be weight, which is 18 gram. 18 ml will weigh 18 gram. So weight upon molecular weight, that will be 18 upon 18, that is equal to 1. So they have given 1 mole of liquid water. Now see, I know that in H2O, H and O, there is no proton in hydrogen, no proton in hydrogen, 8 protons in oxygen. So in total I have got 8 protons in 1 molecule of H2O. So I am saying 1 molecule, or I can just rub it off, I can simply say that 1 H2O contains 18 protons. I have got 1 mole. So 1 mole H2O will contain 18 mole of proton. Now 18 mole of proton, they are asking number of protons. So multiply mole by Na. So this will be 18 into Na number of protons. So this is how you're going to solve this question if liquid is given. Now see, if vapor is given, now what you will do? Now vapor is almost equal to gas in this case. So here I have to take this root. So now number of moles of H2O will be volume of H2O, which is basically vapor right now, upon 22.4 liter. Now this should also be in liter. Now volume is given as 18 ml. So 18, this is ml. So convert this ml into liter, 10 to power of minus 3. Divide by 22.4. When you will solve it, you will get 8.1, 10 to power of minus 4. So number of moles of H2O in 18 ml vapor of water is 8.1, 10 to power minus 4. While number of moles in 18 ml H2O. Same volume is there, but this is liquid, this is vapor. Number of mole is 1. Here number of moles is 10 to the power minus 4. So again, I know that one molecule of H2O contains 8 protons. From here I know that one molecule contains 8 protons. Hydrogen does not contain proton. Similarly, so here 8.1 10 to the power of minus 4 H2O moles of H2O will contain 8 into 8.1 10 to the power of minus 4 mole of protons. That will be equal to 64.8 into 10 to the power of minus 4 mole of proton, or you can say 64.8 into 10 to the power of minus 4 into Na, number of proton, Avogadro's number. This is the difference between these two questions. 18 ml vapor, 18 ml liquid. Whenever liquid is given, you have to proceed via density. Whenever vapor or gas is given, proceed via this path. Okay. Let's move next question now. Okay, students, let's solve certain questions on gases. Now, whenever they are asking a question on gas, it becomes very important that you start thinking compulsorily with respect to 22.4 liter. And why so? Understand, 1 mole of a gas, its volume at STP will be 22.4 liter. And 1 mole of gas, the weight of that gas will be molecular weight. So I can say that 1 mole of a gas is equivalent to 22.4 liter in terms of volume, and 1 mole of a gas will be equal to molecular weight in terms of the weight. So if I am able to find out 22.4 liter of the gas, the weight of that gas will be equal to molecular weight of the gas. So normally in these kind of questions they try to identify the gas. So the best way to identify the gas is to find out the molecular weight. If you know the molecular weight, you know the gas. For example, if the molecular weight is coming 2, you know that gas is hydrogen, 4 helium, 28 nitrogen, 26.5 HCl, 71 chlorine. So let's see that. So density of a gas is given as 1.43 gram per liter at STP. So what is the meaning of this density? This actually means density is 1.43 gram per liter, which means 1 liter is equal to 1.43 gram. I am interested in 22.4 liter in terms of the gas. So 22.4 liter will weigh 22.4 into 1.43 grams. When you will multiply that, you will find the answer as 32 gram. So the weight of 22.4 liter of a gas, any gas at STP, will be equivalent to its molecular weight. So the molecular weight of the concerned gas here is 32 gram. 32 gram, I know the gas is actually oxygen. So what I am trying to say is that whenever they give you these kind of questions and they ask you to identify the gas, try to reach 22.4. Start thinking in terms of 22.4 liter. The weight of that volume will give you molecular weight. Once you know molecular weight, you will know the gas. Come to this question. This says 5.6 liter of a gas weighs 60 gram. Here they have not given the conditions. If they are not giving conditions, assume that to be STP. So 5.6 liter of a gas weighs 60 gram. They are saying find vapor density of the gas. Now I know vapor density is nothing but molecular weight by 2. So actually they are asking molecular weight of the gas. Now let's see. Again I'll start thinking in terms of 22.4 liter. So 5.6 liter weighs 60 grams. 22.4 liter by simple arithmetic will be 60 into 22.4 upon 5.6. You will cancel it. This will be 4 times. So this will be 240 grams. Now this happens to be molecular weight. Weight of 22.4 liter of any gas will be its molecular weight. Once I know molecular weight, I can easily calculate vapor density. So vapor density of the gas will be molecular weight by 2. So this will be 240 upon 2. Some of you might write this as say 120 gram. Please understand, vapor density is unitless. There is no unit of vapor density. And the reason, when you say vapor density, it is molecular weight of a substance divided by molecular weight of hydrogen. So weight in grams and in grams will be cancelled. So gram and gram are cancelled. So this is actually grams, this is also grams. This 2 is nothing but molecular weight of hydrogen. So they will be cancelled. So vapor density is a unitless entity. It should be 120, not 120 grams. I hope you understand this thing. Okay. Now let's move to next question. Okay, students. This is a very famous question, and this has been asked once in NEET also. See, this question says, if 6 into 10 to the power of 20 molecules of CO2 are taken out from 220 milligram weight of CO2, find number of moles of CO2 remaining. So they have given you 3 different measurements of CO2, and we know how to connect them: weight, number of moles, and molecules, number of molecules. So if they give you weight, you have to divide by molecular weight to get down to number of moles. If they give you number of molecules, you divide by Avogadro's number. So they are asking number of moles of CO2 remaining. They have given me molecules, they have given me weight. They are asking me moles. So my job will be to convert this weight and number of moles into number of particles, or number of molecules into number of moles. Let's do that. So number of moles of CO2 initially the sample was 220 milligram. So it will be weight upon molecular weight. Weight upon molecular weight. Weight is given as 220 milligram. This has to be in grams. So multiply by 10 to the power of minus 3 to convert that into grams upon molecular weight of CO2, that is 44. This will be 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3. So number of moles of CO2 initially is 5 into the power minus 3 moles. Now number of moles of CO2 taken out. Here they have given me molecules. So I will come from molecule side. So this will be number of molecules removed upon Na. This will give me number of moles of CO2 removed, which will be equal to 6 into 10 to the power of 20 upon Avogadro's number is 6 into 10 to the power of 23, which will be equal to 1 into 10 to the power of minus 3 moles. So number of moles of CO2 present initially 5 into 10 to the power minus 3 moles. Number of CO2 moles taken out 10 to the power of minus 3. So number of moles of CO2 remaining will be initial minus taken out. 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3, this was present initially, minus taken out. So that will be equal to 4 into 10 to the power of minus 3. You can see the power of that graph. All these questions are just trying to tell you that mole is the most important entity in physical chemistry. Students, in physical chemistry, they are not going to ask you concepts directly. They will be checking your mathematical abilities, in the sense that if your concepts are clear, you should be able to apply them. How to apply them? While doing questions. Okay. Let's move to next question now. Now let's look at this question. This question is asking, which of the following has maximum number of atoms? 1 gram of oxygen, 1 gram of oxygen atom, 1 gram of oxygen molecule, or 1 gram of ozone? Let's see that. How to handle this question. They have given you weight. So on this graph, we are here actually. Now I have to move from weight to number of moles, and then from number of moles to number of molecules as such. Let's see that. For the first case, number of oxygen atoms will be weight divided by atomic weight into Na. Weight divided by atomic weight of oxygen, this is an atom, into Na. Divide and into Na. So this will be, weight is 1, atomic weight of oxygen is 16, into Na. So these many oxygen atoms are present, Na by 16. Now in the second option, we have got 1 gram of O2. So number of atoms of oxygen they are asking, number of atoms. This will be weight upon molecular weight. Why molecular weight? Because right now I am dealing with molecule of oxygen into number of moles of oxygen. Now this will give me number of moles of oxygen molecule. I am interested in atoms. Now I know that one molecule contains 2 atoms of oxygen. So these many moles will contain double of oxygen atoms into 2. So let's see, weight is 1, molecular weight 32 into Na into 2. This will be 16. You will get Na by 16. So you can see that you are getting same answer in the 2 cases. So without going here, you can mark all of these, or say third one, which says 1 gram of oxygen. Let's find it out. Number of oxygen atoms in the third case will be weight upon molecular weight and into Na. This will give you number of moles of ozone molecule. I want number of atoms of oxygen. In 1 mole I have got 3 mole of oxygen atoms. So in these many I have got into 3. This will be weight 1 upon 48 into Na and 3. This will be again 16. This will be Na by 16. So we can see clearly that all these cases contains equal number of atoms of oxygen. So answer will be fourth one. All have same number of atoms. Let's move to next question. Okay, let's understand this question. This question will amplify the difference between the weight and the volume, their importance in physical chemistry. Students, please do practice as many questions as possible, and not as many questions as possible, but also as many times as possible. Please do practice questions, just don't read theory. Reading theory is half work done. If you really want to have a fruitful effect, please do practice questions, because they will be asking you questions, okay? So understand this thing. So we have got a mixture of ozone and oxygen. In the first case they have given that the ozone is 60% by weight. In the second case they are saying that ozone is 60% by volume. In both the cases you have to find average molecular weight of the mixture. So we'll solve them separately. Understand the importance of weight and importance of volume. Now let's solve this question with respect to weight first. So when they give you 60% ozone by weight, let us assume the total weight is 100 gram. So out of that 60 gram will be ozone and remaining 40 gram will be oxygen. Now what is average molecular weight? It is total weight upon total number of, average molecular weight will be total weight upon total number of moles. So let's find out total weight we have got. My job is now to find out total number of moles. They have given weight. So how you will find out the number of moles? Number of moles of ozone will be weight upon their molecular weight. Weight is 60, their molecular weight is 48 for ozone. Number of moles of O2 will be weight 40 upon molecular weight, that is 32. You solve that, it will be 5 by 4. This will also be 5 by 4. So total number of moles will be 5 by 4 plus 5 by 4. That will be 5 by 2. Okay. So average molecular weight will be total weight, that is 100 gram, upon total number of moles is 5 by 2. That will be 200 by 5. That will be 40. So 40 will be average molecular weight of this mixture when they give 60% ozone by weight. This question is slightly different. 60% ozone by volume. Now when they give volume, understand one thing. There is a law called Avogadro's law, which says that PV equal to nRT. When the pressure and temperature are constant, because they have not given anything else, we'll assume pressure and temperature to be constant. R is already a constant. So volume is proportional to number of moles. So what is the significance of this thing? Volume is proportional to number of moles. That means whatever you want to do with volume, you can do with number of moles. The reason being, Avogadro's law says that at constant temperature and pressure, same volume of all the gases will contain same number of moles. Okay. So now see, here 60% ozone by volume they have given. So what is the meaning of this? So if I take say 100 liter, out of that 60 liter will be ozone, 40 liter will be oxygen. So if this is liter, I can also say that since volume is proportional to number of moles, I can say I have got number of moles 60 for ozone and number of moles 40 for oxygen. Now average molecular weight will be what? Weight of ozone plus weight of oxygen upon total weight. Total average molecular weight. We have to calculate. So see now. So number of moles of ozone into molecular weight of ozone plus number of moles of O2 plus into molecular weight of O2 upon total moles. So total moles will be 100 because I can equate liter in to number of moles. So this will be number of moles of ozone 60, molecular weight of ozone 48 plus 40 into 32 divided by 100. When you will solve that, you will get 41.6, slightly different from this thing. So in these kind of questions, if they give you this question, they will also give you this option. So sometimes people solve this thing by this option and they get a wrong answer. Understand, whenever the volume is given, you can equate that volume to number of moles and then you can solve that. Average molecular weight will be total weight upon total number of moles. This is the way you're going to solve it. Okay? Let's move to next question now. Okay students, let's focus on this question. This is also a good question and this has been asked several times in the local test also. This question says 1 ml of H2O contains 20 drops. How many molecules are present in 1 drop of water? 1 ml of H2O. Let's decode this. This is liquid basically because they are giving me drops. So whenever the liquid is given, they are indirectly giving me weight. We have done a question just before that. So because we know that density of water is actually 1 gram per ml. So meaning is 1 ml weight will be 1 gram. And 1 ml of H2O contains 20 drops. 1 ml contains 20 drops. So the weight of 20 drop is also 1 gram. They are asking about 1 drop. So I am right now on 1 drop. So 1 drop will weigh 1 by 20 gram. So weight of 1 drop is actually 1 by 20 gram. So I am actually right now here with weight of 1 drop equal to 1 by 20 gram. So let me find out now number of moles of H2O, that will be weight upon molecular weight of water, that is 18. So these are the number of moles of H2O. Now number of molecules of H2O will be, this is number of molecules of H2O. Number of moles 1 by 20 and 18 into Avogadro's number into 6 into 10 to power of 23. So when you will solve that, you will get 1.67 into 10 to power of 21. So these many molecules of water are there in 1 drop of water. This is how we can solve this question. See, in solving these kind of questions, it is very important that you understand how to use this graph basically. Once you command this graph, the entire physical chemistry is moving across this graph. You will soon see when we will be doing the concentration terms, we will be extending this graph again. So we can manipulate entire physical chemistry with the help of this movement. Okay. Now let's move to the next question. Okay students, now let us come to our next topic, that is empirical formula and molecular formula. Very simple questions are asked on this. Let's understand. Empirical formula gives you the simplest whole number ratio of atoms in a molecule, while molecular formula gives you exact number of molecules in a molecule, exact number of atoms in a molecule. So for example, if I talk about molecular formula, so I can have like say C5H10O5, I can have like say C6H12O6, I can also have like say C2H4O2. This is nothing but acetic acid. This is acetic acid. You can write down that thing as CH3COOH. Carbon 2, 1, 2, hydrogen 3 and 1, 4, oxygen 2. Okay, this is glucose. Now these are the molecular formula. Now if I want to write down empirical formula, that will be the simplest ratio. Now currently the ratio of atoms in a molecule are like 5:10:5, 6:12:6, 2:4:2. Simplest ratio, that will be the empirical formula. Simplest ratio will be divide by 5, 1:2, 2:1, divide by 6, 1:2, 2:1, and divide by 2, 1:2, 2:1. Okay, so you can see that molecular formula can be different and is different for different molecules, but different molecules having different molecular formulas can have the same empirical formula. Okay, now if I multiply this by 5, I'll get this molecular formula. I multiply this by 6, I'll get this molecular formula. So multiplying by a simple number, I can get molecular formula from empirical formula. Now what kind of questions are asked on this? Let's solve that. Okay, now see, let's do a question on empirical formula. So this question says that in a hydrocarbon, carbon is 75% by weight. So in a hydrocarbon, the hydrocarbon is C6Hy. I do not know the exact formulation of this hydrocarbon, so I'll put it CXHY. In this hydrocarbon, they're saying that carbon is 75% by weight. That means hydrogen should be 25% by weight. So whenever you get this kind of question, please make sure that this is carbon, this is hydrogen. So this is like weight. You take the weight as 100 grams. Whenever percentage is given, you begin by 100. So if I take 100 gram as the weight of the total compound, so weight of carbon will be 75 gram, hydrogen will be 25 gram. I told you that weight is not that important in physical chemistry. So what is important? Number of moles. So you will calculate number of moles. That will be 75 upon weight upon atomic weight of carbon, that is 12. 25 upon atomic weight of hydrogen, that is 1 basically. So it will be 6.25. This will be 25. Now I want empirical formula. To find empirical formula, I need simplest one. To get simplest one, out of these two, whichsoever is smaller entity, divide both of them by the smallest one. So here the smallest one is 6.25. So to get the simplest ratio, I divide both of the number of moles by 6.25. And this will be 25 upon 6.25. This will be 1 and this will be 4. 6 into 4 is 24. So approximately we are there. So our job is to get an integer over here. So for every 1 carbon, there is 4 hydrogen. So empirical formula of this compound will be CH4. Okay. Now let's try one more question on that. Okay, let's see this question. Again a simple question. They say that 60 gram of a compound gave 24 gram of carbon, 4 gram of hydrogen and 32 gram of oxygen. You have to find out empirical formula of that compound. See, carbon, hydrogen and oxygen are the components of this compound and they have given you weight. So this is 24 gram, 4 gram and this is 32 gram. So you have to find out number of moles from that. 24 upon the atomic weight, 12, 4 upon 1 the atomic weight, 32 upon 16. So number of moles will be 2, 1 and 2. And now I believe this is the simplest ratio. There is no complexity in that. So empirical formula of this compound will be C2H O2. This will be, sorry, 4. No, this is not simplest now. This is not simplest. Now see, to get the simplest ratio, I can divide it by 2. This will be 1 is to 2 is to 1. Now empirical formula will be CH2O. CH2O. See, this is a very famous question. You must have come across this question many times while your preparation. This question says two oxides of a metal have 50% and 40% metal respectively. The first oxide contains 50% metal and second contains 40% metal. If nothing is given, this means percentage given is in terms of weight. 50% by weight, 40% by weight of metal. Okay. So they're saying if empirical formula of the first oxide is MO, find the empirical formula of second oxide. Okay. In these kind of questions, you have to calculate the atomic weight of metal from the first data, and you have to utilize the atomic weight of metal in the second part. How? Let's see that. Okay, let's divide this question in two parts. So let's do the first oxide. This is second oxide. We will solve it here. So first oxide, they're saying the molecular empirical formula is MO. The simplest one is MO. So this is like M and O, metal and oxygen. So if they say 50%, so weight, if I suppose that the total weight of the oxide is 100 gram, the metal will be 50 gram. This will also be 50 gram because this contains 50% metal. Rest of the substance will be oxygen. That will also be 50%. Weight is useless, so I'll go with number of moles. So number of moles will be 50 by molecular weight of the metal, which I do not know, and 50 and atomic weight, not molecular weight, this will be atomic weight. 50 by 16, the atomic weight of oxygen. Now since in the given oxide, the ratio has to be 1:1. The simplest ratio is supposed to be 1:1. The formula is MO. So for every one atom of metal, we have one atom of oxygen. So that means these number of moles should be equal. So from here I can see that 50 upon the atomic weight should be equal to 50 upon 16. So here I can say that atomic weight of metal is actually 16. I use this atomic weight of metal 16 in that part. How come? Again, let's suppose that this is MXOY. I do not know that. That is the formula of this oxide. Now again I am assuming that this is 100 gram. Then this says 40% is metal. So again, weight for metal and oxygen I am talking about. This is 40 gram. This will be 60 gram. I am interested in number of moles. So weight upon atomic weight. Now I know atomic weight, which is 16. So weight upon atomic weight 16 and 60 upon atomic weight. Again that is 16. So if I want to find out the simplest ratio, I should divide the smallest one. Both the factors are. So it will be 1:2. 60 by 16 divided by 40 by 16. Cancels out. This will be 2. This will be 3. So this will be 1:3 by 2. Simplify that. This will be 2:3. So for every 2 atoms of metal, I have got 3 atoms of oxygen. So empirical formula will be M2O3. Okay. So use the first part to get the molecular weight or atomic weight of metal, and use this in the second part. You will get the oxide. So the empirical formula of second oxide is M2O3. Now see, I'll make a subtle change. Instead, entire data will be same, but if empirical formula of the first oxide is MO2, how you will handle this question? Okay, let's try that. See, simple one. I'm not changing any data, but I'm just changing the formula, empirical formula of the first oxide, and let's check it out. How we can solve it. Same thing, same procedure. First oxide contains 50% metal, 50, 50. I am interested in number of moles, 50 upon molecular weight of, also not molecular weight, atomic weight of the metal, which I do not know. 50 upon 16, I know the atomic weight of oxygen. Now, in the given empirical formula, it is MO2. So the ratio should be 1:2. That means if I take number of moles of metal and number of moles of oxygen, the ratio should be 1:2 from the given oxide, MO2. So that means number of moles of metal upon number of moles of oxygen should be, that will be 50 upon atomic weight divided by 50, and that will be 16. This should be 1/2. 50 and 50 cancels. So atomic weight of metal will be 16 into 2, that will be 32. In the first case, the atomic weight was 16. In this case, it is 32. So atomic weight of metal is 32. The reason being the difference of the formula of the oxides in the previous case. Now the second oxide, again I'll assume I do not know the formula. So I'm assuming this will be 100 grams. So based on the data given, weight of metal and oxygen, this will be 40 grams, this will be 60 grams. I'm interested in number of moles, that will be 40. This time the atomic weight is 32, 60, and this is 16. So let's see that which one is bigger. So 8, 4, 8, 5, 5 by 4. This is like say 60 by 16. So I can say this will be 4, and this will be 15. This will be 15 by 4. So I believe this one is bigger, this one is smaller. So I will divide the entire thing by smaller one. So to get the simplest ratio, it will be 1:2, 15 by 4, 5 and 4. Cancels up, this will be 3. So ratio will be 1:3. So empirical formula this time will be MO3. For every 1 atom of metal, I have got 3 atom of oxygen. So I hope this is clear now. Okay.